All right, well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to welcome you to our spring concert, and a very special concert it is. We are the Hamilton County Community Band under the direction of Brian Swart, and you are in for a treat this evening. The programming for this concert centers around honoring and remembering our dear friend, mentor, founding member, and associate conductor of this band, Joseph Poio. Joe passed away in August of last year, and we wanted to share with you, our community, the impact that Joe had on many of our lives and in the Indiana music community as an educator, a conductor, and a musician. Well, we could think of no better way to honor Joe than through the musical selections in this concert. We hope he will be smiling down on us tonight. And hey, Joe, we left you a chair right up here in the first chair clarinet section. So come on and join us. Now, Joe was a clarinet player, and he was a tremendous clarinet player at that. So it seemed appropriate to open the show tonight with a clarinet quartet, An Amazing Grace. The quartet members are Terry Castle, Sabin Martinez, Dave Paulson, and Brittany Semler. Go ahead and stand up, guys. Give them another hand. They did a great job. All right, well, in keeping with the clarinet theme, we also performed a Don Gillis arrangement of Just a Closer Walk with Thee. The piece starts off with the signature slow New Orleans style introduction, performed again by Terry Castle. And then followed by an up-tempo Dixieland rock, which features three of our brass players. That was Rich Jeffries on trumpet, Todd Lampkin on trombone, and Nate Arrowwood on tuba. Give them a big hand. Now, throughout the evening, you will hear stories about Joe from our guest conductors and family. And we hope that you will leave here with a sense of who Joe was personally. Certainly, we encourage you to check out his bio in the program, as his professional career was absolutely incredible. But in the meantime, let's get to know Joe Poio through music. We're going to go ahead and start things off with a little bit of a little tuning note here, and then I'll go ahead and introduce our next piece. This next piece needs no introduction, as it is a long-standing tradition in HCCB programming. This is Rick Kirby's An American Fanfare. Joe loved to conduct this piece. Now, above the staff, at the beginning of the piece, are the words, "very fast." And our lead conductor, Brian, takes that very seriously. So we go at breakneck speed whenever he conducts this piece. But when Joe stepped up to the podium and conducted, he would go much slower, a much more relaxed pace. He wanted to be sure we didn't miss any notes. So here it is, An American Fanfare, followed by the Star-Spangled Banner. Well, Joe Poio had this next piece commissioned during his time as conductor of the Indianapolis Symphonic Band. to celebrate the band's 50th anniversary. Joe loved this piece for its connection to the ISB and its energetic style. Joe had been rehearsing this piece with us, this band, for the 2024 spring concert, but it never made it to programming for various reasons. So in honor of Joe this evening and his affiliation with many local music organizations, including his 11-year stint as principal clarinetist with the Carmel Symphony Orchestra, here is James Hosay's Splashes of Gold, a celebration of rhythm and sound. All right, well, we are not going to take an intermission tonight, but before we move on, I would like to take a moment to thank our Director Circle, Golden Baton, and Maestro sponsors. They are Craig and Sandy Wood, Kathy Lee, Reynolds Farm Equipment, Dave Paulson, Dr. Heather and Mr. Brian Argo, Cicero Friends of the Park, Dr. Doug Hartley, that's Cicero Family Dentistry, Dave Bechtel, Mark and Lauren Feeney. And as always, we appreciate all of our sponsors at all levels, so be sure to check out those names in your programs. We'd also like to give a big shout out to the Jane and Joe Poio Legacy Fund for music donations and guest conductor funding, the Noblesville School Corporation and the high school band for providing rehearsal space and the use of the auditorium this evening, the Hamilton Heights High School Corporation for rehearsal space, and the Belzer Scout Camp and the Cushman family for providing the American flag and pole for our summer concerts. Now, if you are interested in a sponsorship, we would certainly welcome that. There is information in your programs to point you in the right direction. You can also stop by and chat with me after the concert. Now, the next three pieces will be conducted by three guest conductors, not all at the same time. It's one conductor per piece. But each of these gentlemen have had the honor and privilege of Joe's influence on their lives. The first of these is John Clark. Now, John has been a dedicated educator in the Muncie school community system since 1987. He has served in various roles with the music and band departments in Muncie. John played a key role in leading the Spirit of the South and Spirit of Muncie Band and card to numerous podium finishes at the Indiana State Band Day. On the side, John plays as a freelance musician in several professional Indiana music ensembles. Well, let's welcome to the podium Mr. John Clark conducting Jan van der Roost, Canterbury Chorale.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad you're here this evening. And isn't this a terrific band? So, Brian asked me to say a few things about Joe, and boy, that's a hard thing to do, to kind of crystallize in 10 seconds or less what Joe Poio meant to us, us meaning the next three conductors here, me and Sean and Chuck. I think a couple of weeks ago when I did the first rehearsal with the Symphonic Band, I asked how many people were actual band directors, and I think maybe 3 raised their hand. And I think that really epitomizes what Joe Poio was about. He was an educator, but most of all, he loved music and wanted to share music with the community and the people at large. And for him to be with the Indianapolis Symphonic Band and also with the Hamilton Concert Band here is just a testament to his dedication to education and furthering the cause of music, in this community. There are so many stories I could tell you. Him jumping off the tower in high school at Pendleton Heights, him walking home with his little clarinet, and his his uncle realized that a couple of the kids were making fun of Joe taking his clarinet home in the 5th or 4th grade, and he had some of his syndicate family members talk to those boys, and Joe was never bothered again. It just goes and goes and goes. My story is this. My high school band director was Bill Kane. He was at Noblesville High School. I was a Delta graduate in '82. Bill was the band director there. He introduced me to Joe in high school. And we just became instant friends, and Bill and Joe talked together at Delta Middle School and Delta High School together, and then it just starts from there. So I was teaching at Muncie Southside, and I had an all-star. My only claim to fame is Dr. Chuck Reynolds, one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. He'll be up here in a little bit. He says, "Hey, John, who do I do my student teaching with?" I said, "Well, Chuck," I said, "you're really good." And I said, "You could go anywhere. You could do the 465 corridor if you'd like." I said, "But if you really want a true educational experience, you really need to talk to Joe Poio at Delta Middle School." And he did. And from that, it went from Joe, Bill, me, Chuck, and then Sean. Sean decided to be a composer instead of a band director, and he is just as accomplished in that field as Joe was conducting and the sort. So that's the brief little story I can tell you about Joe. If you want to know the true stories, you can talk to me later about it, so it'll be good. I dedicate this Canterbury Chorale to Joe. He's a great guy, a great friend, and just an absolute marvelous musician. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John, very much. Well, before we bring on our next guest conductor, we would like to bring up a member of Joe's family. This is his niece, Angie Ressler, to say a few words about Joe. Angie?
Good evening. It is truly an honor to be here, and on behalf of our family, the Poios, the Dobsons, and the Wrestlers, we appreciate the efforts of Brian Swart, Hamilton County Community Band, to pay tribute to Joe Poio, Uncle Joe. John Clark, you crack me up, sir, because the Syndicate family is real. Uncle Joe grew up in Long Island, was a Long Island Catholic boy, so you can imagine the kind of family they had. Joe joined our family in 1978. I was 5, so he married my mom's sister, Aunt Jane. He made an instant impact to all of us, and not just musically. He would come over the week before Easter. He always colored Easter eggs with us. Now, I'm sure for a lot of people who know Joe, he was always dressed to the nines and normally very chill, not with the family. During Christmas, he would actually come with a toolbox. My father was grateful because he never had to put together the toys that Santa brought us. Uncle Joe did. And so he came with his tools and his batteries. It was great, just in case Santa forgot. Gosh, he was an amazing man. Growing up in Noblesville with Uncle Joe was so cool. I was blessed to be able to not just have him as my uncle, but as an inspiration. I'm a flute player. I was part of the Noblesville Marching Millers, and it was awesome being able to watch him. They've mentioned that he was the leader of the State Fair Marching Band Day. And it was always so cool being able to go up on stage and be like, I know I'm not allowed to be here, but I can because he's my uncle. And he let me do that. Wow. The things that he taught us through example as a musician in Indy, in Noblesville, in Carmel, and even in Brazil, Indiana, when he would play with the Brazil concert band there in town, because that's where my mom and my aunt grew up. Just recently, I was the choir director here at Noblesville High School for 10 years, 9 or 10 years. And I was blessed to have my uncle call me one day and say, Angie, I want to start a band contest. Okay, talk to the band people, I'm the choir director. And they were so busy at the time, I was like, all right, I'll start it with you, great. So we started the Black and Gold Marching Band Contest that is still here today. And it's such a wonderful and inspiring event. If you ever get a chance to be able to go to attend, please do. This year, sadly, unfortunately, with Uncle Joe being gone, they did rename it the Joe Poio Black and Gold Marching Band. And thank you to Jacob Crossley, where I know you're here somewhere. Thank you to you and Eric Thornberry for allowing my daughter Isabella and I to be a part of that. It truly was an honor. Unfortunately, we were hoping that we'd be able to get my aunt here tonight. She's in mental failing. She has dementia, and she's struggling, and of course in the evenings it's tough. On behalf of her, we would like to say thank you to the band and to all of you for your inspiring words, your kindness that you've shown my family throughout all the many decades of his existence as a musician around central Indiana. And we are eternally grateful for the love and kindness that you've shared. Thank you, Brian, because they're recording this and I'm going to be able to show it to Aunt Jane. If anybody is interested in visiting or talk to Brian, come see me afterwards. We'd love to have you come and visit. Thank you all for honoring Uncle Joe.
thank you, Angie. It's just such a nice touch to have you come up and kind of give a personal family perspective on Joe. I just love the stories, and we truly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Well, next up is Dr. Charles Reynolds. Now, Chuck has been an educator for 27 years and currently serves as the Director of Public Education and CEO for Muncie Community Schools. His passion for education has deep roots in music. As a classroom teacher, Chuck's ensemble groups received many prestigious honors, including 5 championships and 2 runners-up at the Indiana State Fair. Chuck will be conducting a James Curnow piece entitled Where Never Lark or Eagle Flew. Let's welcome Chuck Reynolds to the stage.
Good evening. This mic looks like it might be set up for Joe. It's down there. I'd leave it up high for him so you'd have to jump up and grab it. If I could, if you would indulge me just for a second to say a few words about Joe. I really met Joe in 1993 on the stage of the State Fair Band Day where he was passing out trophies. Didn't know then that he would be such a huge impact on my life and my kids' life and all my students throughout my teaching career. Started, as Mr. Clark mentioned, my high school band director. I student taught with Joe in '98 and just had the fortune of always working with Joe through all my years. Where Never Lark or Eagle Flew, it's based on a poem by John Gillespie McGee, which I first played with Joe in the Indianapolis Symphonic Band. And then later in 1998, he gave me the privilege of conducting the Indianapolis Symphonic Band right here in Noblesville for an outdoor concert. Just a tremendous experience. I was fresh out of college and got to conduct a wonderful ensemble, much like this one here tonight. But it was just such a memorable experience. I asked, it was an outdoor concert, and there were beautiful birds chirping in the background. So I'm hoping that Chad and his crew back there will be squeezing some birds so we get some chirping throughout the piece. But this piece is based on a poem called High Flight by John Gillespie McGee. He was a pilot for the Canadian Air Force, but died tragically at the age of 19 during World War II during a training mission. His poem, though, is famous and special to aviators still today. Wrote it just as a 19-year-old kid, just months before he passed away. The James Curnow piece capitalizes on the beautiful pictures that the poem paints. I think you'll hear some sweeping brass and dazzling brass sounds, some very majestic woodwind lines, and then a piece, the middle of the piece suggests just the beauty that he experienced flying very high, where never lark nor eagle flew, and almost a serene moment with God. And I think that you'll hear that and enjoy this piece today. I will just share that through the years when Joe would come out and help my bands, and always for nothing, always with a smile. My kids loved him from teaching at Eastbrook. They called him Papa Poio. And he took us to New York one time with the band and traveled with us, and he met Papa Poio, which is Joe's dad, on the South Street Seaports. And from Southside, kids just loved him and respected him. And probably most men's desire is to leave a lasting legacy and touch lives and make a difference. And I certainly believe Joe Poio did that. So, where never lark nor eagle flew. This is also set up for Joe. I am Statue of Liberty up here.
Wow. Take a deep breath after that one. Well, probably one of the lives most affected by Joe Poio's influence is our next guest, Sean Summerall. Do we have a Sean sighting back there? Yes, he is back there. Sean had some car troubles on the way here tonight, so we weren't sure whether he'd be here, but he is here. He's a true performer. Now, Sean, too, came out of the Muncie school system where he was a student of Joe's, and I'm certain that many of Sean's successes, and they are many, have come from lessons taught by Joe Poio. Sean is an award-winning composer and arranger. His works have been featured at the Tribeca Film Festival, the Heartland Film Festival, and the California Independent Film Festival, among others. His score for Sarge won Best Music in a Film at the 2016 Reading Film Festival. Like Joe, Sean is also an accomplished music adjudicator with the Central States Judges Association, where he has been elected to the board of directors for 3 consecutive terms. Sean will be conducting a Samuel Hazo piece that holds many memories from his time with Joe in Muncie schools. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Sean Summerall conducting Perthshire, Majesty.
Oh man, I am so not ready for this. I wrote some words. There are so many things that I could say about this man and how he affected my life. But he affected so many people's lives. Let's just begin. Okay, so my first memory of Joseph Poio is an interesting one. I don't think anybody is going to know this except for maybe Chuck and John and Rhonda. When I was interested in marching band in 2002, I was good friends with Stephen Slavin, another saxophone player, and I was talking to him because I really wanted to march, and he said, it's all great, he showed me videos, it was, just a really fun time for him. So he was, trying to gas me up and get me into it. So it's all about it. But then he did tell me about this person he called the Italian Stallion. And I would meet this fiery little Italian man at the Muncie Southside's marching band practice, 2002. And now, whether the story happened in 2001, 2000, doesn't matter, I don't know, but they could confirm that, I'm not sure. But I heard this story that the kids were standing still, up at attention, and when you're doing that, you're supposed to have the way we do it, you're supposed to have your feet together, with the toes touching. And one, I believe it was a clarinet player, was not understanding what they were going for, and Mr. Poio was definitely trying to get them to understand to the point where he was on the ground saying, your toes, the things attached to your feet, get them together, get the toes together. And he was just stressing out so much. And if you knew him, he had his ups and downs. It was definitely just a cherished moment that I did not witness personally, but when you did meet him, it was like, okay, yes, this is very much Joe Poio. I think he did end up making that clarinet player cry. Yeah, it happens, it's okay. So, fast forward to my senior year when Chuck Reynolds, my band director at the time, announced his retirement. Shouldn't have, but still, I love Joe. Joe became the band director that year, 2006, 2007, and took the head band director spot. And I knew I was going to be in composition. I knew I wanted to do arranging, and he wanted to foster that. So he allowed me to arrange the music for that summer show in 2007. and he wanted to do an all Hazo show. So he chose Exultate, was one of his pieces, Rush, which was a newly written piece, and then Perthshire Majesty. So that's exactly what we did. And I played the solo that you're going to hear Dave Paulson play on soprano saxophone. And so just imagine a 17-year-old me playing this soprano saxophone solo in, I believe the heat index was 105 that day, State Fair Band Day, in the morning for prelims, and it was excruciatingly hot. A couple of the band directors chose to not go with uniforms, and so we chose not to go with uniforms for the morning performance. And I would walk out for the solo, and then after the completion of the solo, I'd start to march backwards on my, my toes. And I faltered for a little bit, and he caught that. I caught his eye because he was directing right in front of me, and he told me afterwards. He said, "Oh my God, I thought I was going to have to take this kid out on a stretcher and take him straight to the hospital after passing out to heat exhaustion at 105 degree heat." He would tell that story to everybody. Love this man, absolutely love this man. And that's why I chose this piece, because it was the solo that I played, the piece that I arranged for him for my first time ever arranging for a marching band. He really fostered my my abilities, and took me places and opened up doors that probably couldn't have been opened by anybody else but him. He welcomed me into this world, and I know all of you guys because of him. I mean, I'm thankful for that. There's probably some people out there that I know because of him. So I'm just grateful, and I hope you enjoy Taylor Hazo's Perthshire Majesty.
Thank you, Sean. That was wonderful. And that was Dave Paulson on the saxophone. Thank you so much, Dave. It's absolutely beautiful. And I have to make mention of my cohort next to me, Lisa Holcomb, who is playing an English horn tonight, which was just a perfect, beautiful mix with that piece. So thank you, Lisa. Well, our evening with you is coming to a close. We sincerely thank you and hope that you have come away with a better understanding of the personhood of our friend and mentor, Joe Poio. The lives that he touched spanned multiple generations. In my personal case, Joe was known and respected by my dad, Bob Meyer, a music educator in Lawrence Township Schools in Indianapolis, and a longtime member of the Indianapolis Symphonic Band. And I played for Joe in this band and also in ISB. And my son, Corey, played trombone for Joe in the ISB as well. So 3 generations in our family. Many of us in this band have rich stories and memories of making music with Joe Poio. Now, I'd like to remind you of our next concert. It will be part of our summer series on June 8th in the Cicero at Red Bridge Park. Downbeat will be at 6:30 p.m., so mark your calendars and bring your friends and neighbors. Well, we're going to close out with a Sousa march. Joe would always say, put the march at the end of the concert, it'll apologize for everything that came before it. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the Dauntless Battalion.